this way. And he was sort of saying, so what happened, man? And I sort of tried to explain it. But at the time, I guess when you're in a situation like that, your adrenaline just goes pumping to the point where you start to babble. You start to become incoherent a little bit. You're very excitable. You know, you're not really scared. You don't feel any fear at all. You're just hyperactive. So I'm hyperactive. I'm sort of trying to remember what exactly happened. And it took me a while to realize that I'd hit the false neutral and... oh yeah, I also hit the left side of my head when I hit the ground. Hit the elbow, shoulder, left side of the head, bounces off the pavement. And then I'm sliding on my back. So yeah, I'm the only guy who wears gear in this damn town. Oh, I believe it's your choice. I think I just ran that red arrow. So the guy helps me move the bike off, roll the bike off the road. He helps me pick it up. We get inside the road. So I think traffic was stopped for maybe 30 seconds to a minute. It's a very short period of time. I'm standing there in full gear. I'm feeling okay. Are you alright? Are you alright? I say, yeah. You sure? Yeah. And he's like, do you need a cell phone? Do you have a cell phone? Call a tow truck. Do you need a tow truck? And I was like, no, I got all that covered. So, and the other guy from the other vehicle going in the opposite direction, he picks up my broken mirror, brings it over to me, and says, here's your mirror. And amazingly, there was nothing smashed on the bike. Like, there's no plastic bits all over the place like you see a lot of the time in these crashes. Hit a neutral there. Always upshift out of your false neutral. You find yourself in neutral while you're riding accidentally. Always upshift. That's what I learned. And don't ride when you're tired and take lots of breaks. That's what I learned from my incident. After that, we started the bike up, and he says, hey, starts right up. It's a Honda. And as soon as I started riding down the hill, I heard the rattling. And when I got to the bottom of the hill, I sort of looked at it again, and it was like, oh shit. It's the chain. The chain is rubbing against the gear shift connector rod. Like, the gear shift lever connects to this rod that runs along the length of the, well, not the length of the bike, but it runs parallel to the bike. You click up a gear, click down a gear, that rod moves forward and back and actuates the transmission. Anyway, so that whole assembly was bent inward, and it was rubbing against the outer links of the chain, the outer pins of the chain. So I periodically looked at it, stopped, rode for a bit, looked at it. It looked like it was okay. I managed to hobble home. But I think I was, you know, I was pretty much pushing my luck in my opinion. It wasn't the smartest thing to do. So that's my crash story. I hope to not do that again for a very long time, if ever again. Could have been bad, could have been worse. Could have been fatal. If I'd slid down the road and crossed over into opposing traffic while I was sliding, and the cars didn't see me or didn't stop in time, yeah, that would have been bad, because I would have hit head first. The other thing is I practiced doing slow speed parking lot stuff on the F4i the other day before the crash. And I was just doing like these really tight, I was going around these imaginary pylons that were like a couple feet apart. and I was trying to do the tightest S-curves I could, tightest slalom. And I found it was very, very easy because the FRI's rake is shorter than the Ninja's, and the bike would just fall in so easily back and forth, with very, very little effort. I just had to input on the handlebars a little bit. Like when you get below a certain speed, everyone says you don't counter steer. Like you go below like 15 miles per hour, it's not counter steering. Well, yeah, I would say the effect isn't the same, but it doesn't hurt to actually push on that inside bar, even if you're at low speed. Because what it does, what's going to happen is that your bike's handlebars are in a slow speed lower than 15 miles per hour situation. I found that the handlebars try to turn inward into the turn, and so you kind of have to push on the inside of the turn, push on the handlebar on the inside, just like you would if you're counter steering normally at higher speeds. You push on the inside bar just to keep the bars from falling too far inward, and so you can adjust the curvature of your turn. So it's not counter steering officially, but it's the same movement, and that's what I try to do when I'm doing a slow speed turn, right or left. If I'm going slow speed to the right, I push on the right to keep it falling in too much, push to the left and falling in too much. It is easier to do a full lock turn on the Ninja though, because the bars are positioned, the ergonomics are such that I can pull in the bars a little tighter and not squish my hand against the gas tank. My longest trip on this Ninja was a couple months ago when I went up to Northern California on a weekend, and that was about 1,300 miles in a weekend. So don't let anyone tell you this thing can't do freeways or really long trips. It's a perfectly good bike. Although I have to admit it's nowhere near as cool as my FRI. That thing had some psychological effect on me. I felt like a superhero on that bike. On this bike, I feel like a bit of a dork. The bike doesn't look as good. When I walk up to it, I sort of sigh and I sit on it. But that's not the right attitude. Bike's a bike's a bike. Speaking of which, I think I'll head down to the shop, find out what's the deal with my bike, and then I'll head off to pick up my leathers. I just bought some new race leathers for a track day that's coming up. It's a real Power Ranger suit. So I have now reached the next level of poserism. It is silver and black. Very nice leather suit. It'll be silver and black. F4I. I'll be matching with the silver helmet. Yeah, I'm definitely on the next evolution of poserism. What can you do? I'm having fun.